The next set of operators that I'd like to discuss with you today is logical operators. Let's put together a bit more meaningful program. Once again, I move this down here and try something different. Let's say that we have an integer from 5. From equals 5. And another integer 2 equals 10. So from 2 suggests that I'm trying to use some kind of range. Then I'll use a statement std cout enter a value in range right here, and we'll print the range from, or say between from and to. Okay, from and to, from and to. Oh. And new line. I'll print column to prompt the user, and this is it. That's good enough. Std character input, and we input a value, and of course the value we will have to declare it. Okay, and so now I want to say to the user whether this thing is in range or not. Of course, a good question is this an inclusive or exclusive range? Like what about the boundaries? But we'll just try something very simple. So I need to check the condition such that from is less than the value and the value is less than 2. Okay, so let's say if this value is greater than from and less than 2, then we can print that the value is in range. Okay, so something like this, very quickly. New line. Okay, so this is an example of using, like I said, logical operator, and this is right here, logical AND. So logical AND basically says I am a binary operator and I can combine two conditions. If this is true and this is also true, then the entire condition becomes true. Because it has such a low precedence here, and my comparison less than that I use twice here and here is higher precedence, I don't need to parenthesize. But if you feel more comfortable doing something like this to just make sure that you indicate that you want to check these conditions first, it's okay, you can do that. It's just, I guess, more like a matter of style. If you find this to be a little bit more readable and if this gives you more clarity, then it's okay. You can always parenthesize bigger and more complicated expressions. It's totally a reasonable thing to do. So let's see if we can test this program very quickly. So the range is from 5 to 2. But before we do this, I will also say that if this wasn't the case, then if, and I will repeat my condition, but this time I'll say if the value is let's just say that the value, just for the sake of the order, if the value is less than from, or, and now I'm switching to logical OR, which is right here, logical OR operator. If the 2 is less than value, so the thing is either less than from or greater than 2, so it's like outside of our range. The value is outside the range. And finally, we can report that the value is on the boundary. I'm suspecting that if not inside, not outside, then it has to be one of these, 5 or 10. So we should be able to test this. Okay, so this is my attempt to check the range, and you see that we try to use both of these logical and an OR operators. So just decision making, but we have to combine multiple simple conditions together to see how this all works. So let's give it a try. All right, so build, hopefully, oh, I've got some errors to fix, just my misspelling. So sometimes when I misspell multiple times, I press Control H and fix it like this, std, so it was just a bad spelling of the standard library namespace. Very good. So I just save that. Build again. Okay, so there's something else. Yeah, missing. Oh, I forgot to insert the output operator, which is I do very often. Okay. All right. Okay, so this looks better. Let's try testing it. It says enter value in range. Okay, let's try number 7. And it says it's in range, which is good. The next time I run, let's give it 5. And it says the value is on the boundary, which is good. And then we enter 10. Again, it says the value is on the boundary, very good. And make sure that we test something outside of the boundary. How about 0? Yes, it's outside the range. So you should always, I strongly advise you that when you have conditions like this, you really need to check when you're testing your program, check the boundary values, check some other type of things like such as 0 or -1, and you know, just to be sure that all of these values kind of behave the way you expected. So right now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to make this run continuously. I don't like to exit the program so quickly, just try one value and exit. So what I can do is try an endless loop first. While and true. Okay, and do something like this, and move this entire set of statements, everything I did pretty much in this program, into the loop. So the while loop is very similar to an if statement. It has the condition, mine's encoded to true, so this will be an endless loop. And it will continue to loop forever and continue to hopefully print this prompt and then print the outcome of what I am typing. Building and running it, so let's see how everything behaves. So we try like 5, boundary 7, in range 100 is outside. All right, so this is an example of an endless loop, and you see that the loop begins right here and ends right here. This highlights a little bit in my source editor. not a lot, but just a little bit for me to see it. And we will run those continuously and continuously and continuously, like basically in the endless way. So, okay, so I'll just force exit by clicking the X button from here. If there could be a better way of doing this, yes, we could designate a special value to use it as an exit value. For instance, we could tell the user enter -1 to exit. Or we can just use the state of input stream as a condition. It's a very standard thing. And so we say while this character input device is in good shape, it means that let's go on, and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so I'll press Control F5. So I started the program, and I'll enter a few values like 1, 6, 11, things like this. So it just continues to work. But if now I press Control Z or Control D if you're running on a Linux machine, it signals the input stream. Do not expect any more input from the user. The user wants intentionally to close the stream and never enter anything else. So we could use it as a, so in that case, SYN character input will go into end of file state. And if that's the case, we can check it as a condition. And if I do this right now, just have to press Control Z and hit enter. So in this case, you see that I just exited from the program. So what happened was I entered value, and instead of giving it something, I pressed Control Z and hit enter in my input. And it did still get some kind of value and printed the values outside the range. I really don't care about that. But what's important is that when we finish this set of statements, all these if, else, checks and everything, and we try to loop again to say enter the new value, we check the state of SYN, and because we intentionally close this input stream by pressing Control Z, which is, by the way, end of file character. That's it's a decimal 26 value. End of file character. We tell the stream that we want to close it, and this is a simple way to say, okay, as long as the stream is in good shape, in a good state, let's go on. But we said no, it's end of file, and we dropped out of the program right here. So anyway, so the highlight was a little bit on the OR operator or AND operator, and notice how we had to switch from AND to OR because the two allow us to combine these as ranges together. So this is more or less stable example for us to use.